Earlier, we used to change the channel of the TV something like this. But just to make our life easier, remote was introduced, which made our life so much easier, as it helped us to sit back, configure and run the TV as needed without much hassle. That's the same with custom setting and custom metadata. You see, earlier when we used to write any code, for even small changes, we had to make changes directly to the code itself, which made it very challenging to develop, test, and deploy, just like running the TV directly from its buttons. All this hassle can be solved by making code configurable just by using custom setting and custom metadata. Let's look at it with a coding example. Let's try to understand it with the real world example. Right now, let's say we have some trigger and we have some logic inside it, system.debug, and let's say I'm going to say some logic inside it, right? So this some logic is going to execute no matter what. And let's say now what we will do is that we are going to push this specific code, the code that we have created right now in the dev. This is dev.org, let's say, and this is qa.org. And from the dev.org, we will move it to the qa.org, and from qa.org we will also move it to the production as well. Okay, let's say the same code that we have right now. Okay, so it's inside the prod as well. Now let's say what you want to do is you want to deactivate this trigger. Now inside production, you cannot just directly go and deactivate any specific trigger. You just cannot do it, right? And you can even change the code. Like you cannot go and remove this code if you want to from the production. So if you want to deactivate the code inside production, how would you do it? So this is where you can use custom setting and custom metadata to make your code configurable. Let's look into it how we will do it. So first let's go to create a custom metadata. We are going to do it using custom metadata right now. I will say configure trigger, right? And I will create this configure trigger custom metadata, and within this custom metadata I will have two fields. One is used to specify the object, and second will be used to specify whether it's active or not. Okay, so basically if I want to run the trigger, do I want to activate it for a specific object or not, that I will be able to specify inside this custom metadata. So the first field that I will create over here is, it will be a text field, and I will name it as object name, and I will keep the length as 255 for now. This is where I will specify the name of the object. And another field that I'm going to specify is active checkbox. So let's create an active checkbox and let's click on next. So now inside this metadata I'm going to go ahead and create the records. Okay, so for an example, let's say for account, I will create first of all account trigger handle, right? I will call it as account trigger handle. Okay, and I will give the object API name as account, and I want to activate the trigger for the account object, and I will write the code in such a way that I will take this custom metadata inside my trigger, and I will check whether for the account that I am specifying the trigger for, whether the active checkbox is checked or not, and if yes, only then I will go and execute the code. So what I'm going to do over here is in the dev itself. Okay, all these things will be done in the dev itself, right, before pushing your code to the other environments. Okay, so what you can do is I will create a method, let's say public boolean, okay, verify active trigger. Okay, and here I'm going to specify the object name. Okay, I'll get string object name, and inside this what I'm going to do is I'm going to query the metadata. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and query the metadata over here. So let's query the metadata itself, and I will say list of configure metadata list equals to select id comma name from configure metadata, where object name, I think so there is a field we have created object name, where object name equals to, which will come from the object name specified in the parameter, and active checkbox is checked. right? If we find any such kind of metadata, okay, so I will create a boolean variable. I will say boolean return var. Okay, initially it would be false by default, and then I'm going to check if metadata list dot size is, or let's say I will do it is empty. Okay, is not equal to empty dot is empty. I mean, if it's not empty, the metadata is not empty, then I'm going to set this return var as true. Okay, and then we will return the same variable itself, return. Okay, so what exactly I'm trying to do over here is, let me first of all save it. Okay, what's the error about? Okay, there is no name field, I think so. That's done. Okay, so what I'm going to do over here is that I will just pass the object name, and from that object name we'll just try to find whether there is an active trigger mentioned inside the metadata for this object, and if yes, this function is going to return true, and if no, then this function is going to return false. Okay, and this is our logic. It can be anything, it can be multiple functions. Okay, but for now I have done system.debug. Okay, so I'm going to use this method, and I'm going to check if verify trigger. Okay, and here I'm going to pass the object name. For here, for me right now, the object name is account, and I will specify all the logic inside this. Okay, whole logic will be specified inside this. Now next time if someone goes and let's say they go to the account, and if they try to make an update, okay, of course the trigger is going to run, and it will print system dot some logic. For an example, I have this code right now available, so this account right now available, and let's say if I make change to it, for an example to hot. Let me clear the log, and let me click on save. So if you see right now, the log will get generated. Some logic, because it's executing before and after update. That's the reason why it's printing twice, but some logic is getting printed. It can be any logic. So what exactly is happening over here is that you are, as soon as the trigger will invoke, okay, it will go to this method and pass by passing the object name, and it will try to find the metadata. If metadata exists with this object name and active equals to true, which we have already right now, if you see, this is the data whose object name is account and active checkbox is checked. If it exists inside the system, the variable is going to return true, and then we are going to execute some logic. As this condition is becoming true, we are going to execute some logic inside it. Okay, but now let's say if you want to deactivate it next time, if it's now it's moved to the production and now you want to deactivate it, now you don't need to go to the trigger and deactivate it. Instead, just go to your metadata, edit it, and just check the active and checkbox. Okay, so right now for this object the active checkbox is unchecked. Now if I run the code again, this function is going to run, okay, with the object API name account and active equals to true, but we don't have any record because we have a metadata with object name as account, but its active checkbox was unchecked right now by us, right? And for that reason metadata will come as empty, and by default the value of the return var is false, and that's the reason why this logic won't execute. Okay, so let's try to see it right now how it works. Let me change the value from hot warm to cold, and if you see, even if the log would get generated, okay, we have a log right now available, no logic has been printed. So if you see right now, you just made the code configurable. Now you can write any logic inside it, any logic, calling a function, calling another trigger, or calling a batch class, anything it can be. I've just written system.debug, but now you can control this logic, the whole trigger itself by directly, like if even if it is in production, you can directly change it by just making changes to custom metadata. In the next few upcoming videos or in this series, what we are going to learn is we are going to actually learn how to make code more and more configurable with the time. Okay, this is just a simple demonstration of how to make the code configurable. Okay, so this is what I have to cover in this specific video. If you found this video helpful, I request you to please like this video and subscribe to my channel.